And today, what I have for you is Apple and their new MacBooks, a little bit of history, and the M1 chip, the one that came out last year, the M1 Pro that it was recently announced about a month ago, and the M1 Max chip as well, their price, their performance, and which one you should be getting at the end. So welcome. Today, as you can see, these are supercharged for pros. The MacBook Pro, which starts at $199, and which one is right for you? For the casual consumer, the MacBook Pro 14-inch and 16-inch might not be for you if you're just a casual user. If you're not really doing any video editing or using your computers for other than browsing the web and whatnot, it might not be the best choice. MacBook Air, which starts at $999, that one came out a year ago, but it's still very, very competitive as far as the price point, and it competes with laptops that cost double, even triple of that price that are not Apple. The difference between them is the MacBook Air has the M1 chip, which you can see right here. The M1 chip, which has 8 cores, up to 8 cores. There's the base model, which only has 7 cores, 16 gigabytes of unified memory, and maximum of 2 terabytes storage, a 13-inch display. The MacBook Pro 13, which also has the M1, which that one only comes with the 8 cores, 8-core GPU. The biggest difference between the M1 MacBook Pro 13 and the MacBook Air is one of them has fans, and the other one does not have fans. We get to the big boys, which is the 14-inch and the 16-inch. These were just announced and released over a month ago. As of this recording, they are definitely built for pros. It's up to 10 core CPU, up to 32 cores of GPU, up to 64 gigabytes of unified memory, 8 terabytes of storage. It comes in 14.2 or 16.2 inches liquid retina display. And there's a lot of fancy words being thrown around there. The battery life could last up to 21 hours on the 16-inch. Finally, high definition FaceTime camera on a MacBook. I don't know why they never released it on other ones. It was normally 720p. Coming in at a hefty 3.5 pounds with Touch ID. These are some awesome devices. So before we go into exactly what the specs are on these new M1 Pro and M1 Max, little history behind Apple. Apple currently right now sits with a $2.63 trillion market cap, making it the richest company in the world as of this recording. And coming in a close second is Microsoft. This will give you an idea that Apple has pretty much a license to just print money. Pretty much anything that they put out there just sells like hotcakes. Not only are they the richest company, they're also the most profitable company. During the pandemic, they actually made more money if there wasn't a pandemic. Putting that aside, Apple pretty much has all the money they need for research and development, and they developed their own chips, which is the M1 chip. Many people think that this M1 chip is just something new that they came out with, but that's not true. The M1 chip is the grandson of the iPhone's chips that they have built in. Back in 2007, when Apple released the iPhone, actually a couple years before that, so maybe 2006, 2005, Apple approached Intel, which is their competitor, and asked them if they would make chips for their iPhones. And at the time, the CEO did not want to go in that direction, which basically created a monster. So Apple decided, okay, well, you guys don't want to help us out, we'll just make our own chips. And that gave birth to the A1 chip, which was on the first iPhone. Currently, they're on the A15 Bionic chip, which is on the Apple iPhone Pro 13. It could be I think it's A15. Great device. Also, since we're not talking about iPhones, but it's the iPhone itself is a beast. As far as the chips go, there are 2 variants, the M1 Pro and the M1 Max. Now, these are for professionals. So if you're doing a lot of video editing, you're doing music, you're doing 3D rendering, what have you. The M1 Pro has up to 10 core CPU. It also comes in the 8-core variant as well. What a lot of people don't know is Apple doesn't make 8-core CPUs. What happens in the manufacturing process, they try to manufacture all their cores to have 10 cores. Sometimes not all cores are working. So Apple intentionally disables that core, making it an 8-core. They manufacture one with 10 cores. Say one of those cores don't work, so they'll intentionally disable 2 cores and make it an 8-core CPU. As far as the GPUs go, up to 16-core GPUs, but you can also get it in the 14-core GPU. Now for the big boy, which is the M1 Max, crazy fast. So 10-core CPU, up to 30-core GPU, and up to 64 gigabytes of unified memory. So you're talking about and up to 400 gigabytes memory bandwidth. Anything you throw at it will get the job done. And as far as the price goes, $19.99 for the 8-core CPU on the 14-inch. For the base model 16-inch, which starts at 10-core CPU, is $2,500. That's a pretty hefty price tag. And if you start adding more to this, we're gonna max this baby out and see what it comes out to. Something that I thought was pretty ridiculous. It comes with a 1 terabyte if you get the 32-core GPU. But if you want to upgrade to the 8 terabytes of storage, it's gonna cost you an additional $2,200. $2,200 for 8 terabytes of storage. This maxed out M1 Max, no pun intended there, comes in at a whopping $5,800. $5,000? That is insane. Now what you get with that, this is a chart that Apple released as far as the M1 Max goes at peak performance with their GPUs versus a high-end PC laptop with a graphics card. It's only gonna use 50 watts of power versus a high-end laptop is gonna use 170 watts of power. That's less than half the power that another laptop was gonna be using. The highest competitor, which are gonna be Windows-based laptops. Now these are fine and dandy. If you're a professional, you're a photographer, you're a videographer, you're an editor doing rendering 8K video, 12K video. But what if you're not doing all that? What if you just want to browse the web and maybe you play a game or two and you don't set the graphics at the highest setting, or maybe you don't even play games, but you just want something that's reliable and it's always going to be turning on when you flip it open and start it up? You really shouldn't go this route. If you're a casual consumer, I really wouldn't recommend going with the M1 Pro. I would recommend going with either the MacBook Air or the MacBook Pro 13. The price significantly less, from $12.99 and from $9.99. This is gonna be enough for your web browsing, multitasking. If you're working from home, Zoom is going to work fantastic. You're not going to have any issues. And even light editing, if you do anything on Final Cut, as long as it's not 8K or above, these machines will handle 4K, which is pretty impressive. Those are the recommendations that I would give. Now, if you are doing some editing, even then, I still wouldn't recommend going with the super high-end MacBook Pro. Either the 16-inch base model or either the 16-inch base model M1 Pro would be more than enough to get the job done at anything you throw at it. If you do go with the 14-inch, I would recommend upgrading to the 10-core GPU. By upgrading it to the 10-core GPU, it's basically saving you $200 as far as the screen size go. If you go with the 10-core CPU and 16-core GPU is the one that I would recommend if you don't need the bigger screen size. Those are my recommendations for you. I hope you like this podcast. Thanks for tuning in, and you guys have a great day.